We have an update on another case that we're tracking here on Court TV. Child grief author, murder defendant Kouri Richins was back in court today with her newly appointed public defenders. You may recall that Richins' former defense attorneys withdrew from the case earlier this week. Richins recently broke her silence while speaking to Dateline's True Crime Weekly, discussing her trial.
I've been incarcerated for a year, promised a timely trial, which hasn't happened. And although I am extremely disappointed where we're at right now with this case, I'm anxious. I'm anxious to prove my innocence. I'm anxious to get to trial.
At today's hearing, prosecutors did not object to Richins' newly appointed attorneys, and the judge moved the preliminary hearing that was set for June 18th to allow the new attorneys time to meet with their client and go over discovery. Therefore, her next court date is now set for June 21st. To get us caught up on this case, here's our own Court TV anchor, Ted Rowlands.
No matter if it's a parent, a sibling, or a friend, talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject.
Joining us now is author of Are You With Me?, Kouri Richins.
A year after her husband Eric died, Kouri Richins began promoting her children's book, which counseled kids on how to deal with grief. In an interview with ABC4, she explained what inspired her to write the book.
My husband passed away unexpectedly last year. It completely took us all by shock.
2 months after this television appearance, Richins would be charged in connection to fatally poisoning her husband Eric.
She stated that the last time that she saw Eric alive was between 9:30 and 9:45 p.m. She stated that before going to bed, they had had a drink together to celebrate closing on a house for her business, and one of the children had a nightmare, and that the defendant got out of bed and went to be with that child in their bedroom. Around 3 a.m. when she woke, she stated she returned to her own bedroom, got into bed, and felt that Eric was cold to the touch. Based on the interviews that we conducted with those who knew Eric well, all stated that he did not use illicit drugs other than consuming THC gummies on occasion.
They knew that he didn't die of a drug overdose that he had caused himself. They knew that he was suspicious of Kouri.
According to court documents, prosecutors believe that Kouri Richins began plotting Eric's murder back in January of 2022 when she attempted to change his life insurance policy.
He knew that something was going on. He alerted his family, and he said, I think she's trying to kill me. And he even went so far as to say, if something happens to me, if something horrible happens to me, I want you to have Kouri investigated.
During the investigation, police discovered a similar situation regarding Kouri Richins' mother, Lisa Darden.
I know her innocence, and that's all that matters. And it will come out. It's just time.
According to police documents, Lisa was the beneficiary of a life insurance policy when her romantic partner overdosed on oxycodone. The report goes on to say it's possible she was involved in planning and orchestrating Eric's death. But Kouri Richins' defense attorney denies any connection, saying Lisa's situation was, quote, tragic and unfortunately quite common.
Kouri is desperate, greedy, and extremely manipulative. We have watched as Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as being widow and victim while trying to profit from the death of my brother.
She loved Eric. She loved her family more than anything, and anyone that actually knows her knows that she's just incapable of doing that.
I just wanted some story to read to my kids, and it's just comforting to them to know that, you know, they're not living this life alone. Like, Dad is still here, it's just in a different way.
And let me bring in Kouri Pigese, because again, just talking about Richins, Kouri, I guess you've seen it all, and you've seen people who are this cold and callous, but it just sounds pretty awful if the allegations prove true.
Absolutely. Good evening, Judge. Listen, I've seen everything, and I don't believe anything till we get all evidence out in the trial, because people do mysterious things. Now, on Court TV, we have so many different cases of people killing their loved ones for insurance. So this is not far-fetched. And for her to be cold and calculated, if in fact she did this and wrote this book about grief, She's a monster.
She's a monster. And the way she was on the couch talking about her book, of course, before she was arrested and charged with these things, it sounded to me pretty sincere, like, oh, we've lost their father, my husband. But then you hear the allegations, and it's one I can't wait for. I'm not surprised at all. Of course, there was a continuance, but that's because she has new counsel. They have to get caught up on discovery. That's pretty typical.